Monica from Life is Art, and jumping on again, we're going to do some some creating. I was going to say some stamping. We can't do any stamping because I don't have any stamp sets from the catalog. Oops. But we are going to be doing some creating using what we have, because you know my motto, use what you have. And so from the mini catalog that we just had a walkthrough of, we're going to be looking at Snowy Scenes, and we're going to be using the paper pack because that's what I have, the DSP, the 12 by 12 DSP, and we're going to be looking at a couple of the patterns. We're going to be using the large snow globes as well as the lovely greens and blues snowflake pattern. And we're going to be making an interesting kind of card. And let's get started. There's nothing else to do but to go ahead and do it. So I've gone ahead and I've cut a piece of basic white cardstock that is 6 inches by 12 inches. And we are going to do some scoring on this. Let me just grab the Simply scoreboard. And we're going to line it up here along the 12-inch side, making sure it's tucked up in that corner. And we're going to score it at the 6-inch mark. So we're making a folded in half card. This is going to be a 6 by 6 card when all is said and done, which is a little bit larger than I usually do, but it works for what we're trying to do today. So that is the Simply Scored board. And then we're going to go ahead and fold this with the bump side to the inside. And just make sure everything lines up. Even though we did use a scoreboard, I'm still of a mind where I don't trust it. Because you know me, I was used to using a bone folder and a ruler to do all my scoring before this. Okay, this is going to be a tent card, which means it's folded at the top. Hello, Deborah. Hello, hello. And if you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. If you watch later on replay, you can just say replay. So we've scored it at the top like that. And then we're also going to be coming in with a piece of basic white again. And this piece has been cut to 5 3/4 inch square. So 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. Again, it's basic white. And this time I'm going to bring in an embossing folder. Now, this isn't from the mini catalog, but that's okay. I wanted to use it anyway. And so this is a 3D embossing folder. And it's a 6 by 6. So this piece will fit just nicely inside there. It's almost like I planned it that way. So I'm just going to tuck that in there, and I'm going to grab my Big Shot and try to remember the sequence of things that I need to make this emboss. Does anybody have that trouble where they forget what they're supposed to do to make it emboss? Let's see. That's probably not quite right, but it's going to go through anyway. And if it explodes, I apologize. It's going to pop here in a second. There we go. The 3D embossing folders are a little bit thicker than regular. Let me just get this out of the way. So this is my 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 piece of basic white. And now hopefully you can see that gorgeous exposed brick embossing that has happened on there. And what I want to do now is I want to attach it to the front of my tent fold card, and it's going to be centered. So there will be a little bit of a rim of just the plain cardstock from the card base, and then this lovely texture here. But I'm going to be doing some cutting out of the center. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that this is going to be stuck down well. So I'm going to go ahead and put adhesive around all 4 sides like this. So we're making sure it's stuck down well. But then I also want to put some adhesive inside my, I'm just centering it here, inside the center of my grid lines, because I don't want to go more than an inch in with my adhesive. So I'm just putting a second line of adhesive on all the sides. That might have gone a little too far, but it is what it is. So now what I can do is I can remove the backing on all that adhesive. This is always a process, right? Getting all the backings off. Make sure we're on the screen. Hey Heather, nice to see you're watching. You guys made it all the way through that long catalog walkthrough. I didn't think it was going to take me so long. But, you know, then you get admiring things and all the artwork and, oh boy. You just, you know. And every time I look through the catalog, I see something new. So, you know, that's just how it is. Okay, so I want to make sure that my brick is running sideways. I don't want to have my brick going up and down. So I've got my fold here. I'm going to turn it sideways because I find it easier to stick things down when I'm using my fingertips along the crease of my card, and stick that on there like that. Now we're going to need to bring in our paper trimmer, and I have a massively huge paper trimmer that is not really good at doing what I want to do right now, but we're going to make it work. I might end up using my X-Acto blade in the end. But if you have a paper trimmer, like Stampin' Up! Cells that has the point, then cutting out the center of something works a lot easier than if you have something like mine, which is a rotary blade, which has no exact measurement of where anything is. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my card up, and I'm only going to be cutting out the center of the front. I want to make a frame. And so I'm going to move it so I'm at 5 inches here, which is going to give me a 1 inch amount over here. And I need to, by guess and by golly, where I need to cut with my rotary trimmer. So much easier with the other kind of trimmer. Then I'm going to turn. Now remember, this is 12 inches. So if I want 1 inch, I have to come in to 11 inches over here. And then I'm going to go back and forth with my trimmer. Then I'm going to turn it to the other side. This time we're going back to 5 inches. And we're just gutting out the center of this. Now if I had a die that cut the size I wanted, I could do that. And then we're going to go this way. And you'll also notice I open this. So I'm not cutting the whole card. I'm only cutting the front. I have gotten pretty good doing this with the rotary trimmer, I've got to say. But I'm sure it is not as simple as it would be with a blade trimmer. Okay, because you can see I've overshot here and I've undershot in a few other places. But what I do is I just take my little scissors or my X-Acto blade and I just trim off the final little bit. Now, if you are smart and you've used the proper kind of trimmer for this, you won't need to do the little touch-ups at the end. But I do get pretty close. So there's only little snippets here that require a little touching up. This one's a little bit larger. There we go. Alrighty. Use my little paper snips there. And now we have, you can save this for another project if you want, but now we have our frame, and it's a tent fold card, so it opens at the top. One of the problems with a tent fold card is that it does this. You set it like that, and then it does this. So we're going to create something to save that from happening. And to do that, we need to bring in let me see. Let me make sure I'm not getting too far down. Okay, let me do one step before that. I'm going to take my card and I'm just going to line it up here on my mat. And I want to bring in my pencil. Where's my pencil? It ran away. It was here. There we go. I want to mark the center right there of my 6-inch side at the top where the crease is. I'm going to open it up. And what I'm going to do is I actually need to poke 2 holes. And I do have a little teeny tiny hole punch for doing little teeny tiny holes like this. But somebody, I'm not going to mention any names, but she lives in my house and she has red hair, borrowed my little teeny tiny hole punch and has not returned it. And so what I want to do is I want to go from my center point and just move out a little bit. And I'm going to poke a hole right through the cardstock. And I'm using my take your pick tool. And as I push through all the way down, it's going to create a nice little hole there. I don't know if you can see that, but a nice little hole that I'm going to use later. But I need to do this step now before I get too far ahead. And then I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to go a little bit to the left of my center mark. And I'm just gently poking all the way through so it comes all the way out. So the tip is very tiny, but then it gets wider here at the back. And that will make a nice hole. Love how evenly they're done. We won't look at it too closely. No close-up cameras for that one. I'm just going to remove my pencil mark. There we go. And then just come back in. This is not as good as using a hole punch because you still have the little bits there that want to get in your way. But that's okay. That you use what you have, right? That's how we work. So what I want to do is I want to create a mechanism whereby my card will stand up but not do the splits. We don't want our card doing the splits. So I'm going to bring in another piece of the basic white cardstock, and this is 3 inches by 6 or 6 inches by 3 inches, and we're going to do some scoring along the 3-inch side. And if you're furiously trying to mark down measurements, I will add the measurements when I post pictures, or at least they will eventually get on there. It might not be right away. But we're going to do some scoring. We're going to score at 1/2 inch, making sure we're nice and tucked into the corner there. 1/2 inch. And then we're going to score at 1.5. And then 2.5. So what we end up with is 2 1/2-inch pieces on either side and 2 1-inch pieces on either side of the center. Okay, let's move our scoreboard out of the way. And let's do some folding. The first thing we want to do is we want to fold the center. So we're going to fold the center with the bump side to the inside, folds the whole length in half, like that. Okay, so now we've got a little tent, a little long tent. And now we want to fold, and that is a mountain fold that we've created. Now we want to fold those little 1/2-inch pieces using a valley fold. So that means we push our score line down into the valley, lifting the paper up. And it's also kind of accordion folding. So there we've got our mountain fold and our valley fold. Now we're going to flip it over and do the other 1/2-inch tab as a valley fold. There we go. So we have a valley, mountain, valley. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to put some adhesive on these 2 1/2-inch ones. So I'm going to kind of flatten it out a little bit. And this is where, so we had our mountain and our valleys, and it's these 2 outside ones. So when I flatten it, it's these 2 sides that are looking at me that I want to put the adhesive on. And we're just going to put that all the way down. We're going to do a double layer like that. And then we'll turn around and go to the other side. And add some adhesive there on those 1/2" tabs. All right, now we're going to take adhesive off of adhesive backing off of one side, not both, just one for now. Okay, and then we're going to bring in our card base. So if we squunch this back up, making sure not to stick our adhesive to anything, we will have our little valley, mountain valley, and our adhesive is right here. This adhesive I want to flip over and stick on the back panel of our card. So we've got our adhesive back side here, and we're going to line it right up along the bottom of the card. So that little 1/2" tab is getting lined up right along the bottom and stick it down. So now you can see we've got our little 1/2" tab here, our valley, our mountain, our valley, and then our other adhesive is here, but we haven't taken the backing off yet. While this is still open and accessible, I'm going to bring in that gorgeous snowflake pattern from the Snowy Scenes DSP collection. And this is the one that has the beautiful greens and aqua colors going on in it. And this has been cut to 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, the same as our panel that we added on the front of the card. You can see on the back side are those little tiny snow globes. So cute. Let's add a few bits of adhesive here. And then we'll take the backings off. Like so. And again, I'm going to turn this sideways just so I can line everything up. We're going to center this in this inside panel, and it's going to kind of cover up that 1/2" tab a little bit. There's a little bit of the basic white showing all the way around, but now when we close this, if I squinch that bottom bit down, you can see we have those beautiful snowflakes coming through. We've got that exposed brick on the front. But before we close it, what I have done is I have taken the large snow globe sheet and I have cut out one of the snow globes from that, which is this one with the cute little houses, because I just love the little houses. Howdy, Diane. Nice to see you're watching. And I wanted to make it a little sturdier than just the designer series paper. So I glued it onto some basic white cardstock and fussy cut around it, leaving that little bit of the pink showing all the way around the edge. And then I took my, take your pick tool and I punched a hole right in the center of the top of this as well. So I've been punching lots of holes. So we've got our 2 holes punched in the top there and 1 hole punched in here. And what we're going to use that for is we're going to bring in a length of the silver ribbon. Now this is not from the mini catalog. This is from the annual catalog. This is gold and silver 1/8" trim combo. And you get gold and silver in here. And so I'm going to take about 14 inches just to be safe of this silver, because I thought the silver looked really pretty with the colors in the pattern paper and in the snow globe. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our silver ribbon and we're going to fold it in half. And this loop end, this that's in the middle, we're going to poke it through our little hole here that we've created in the top of our snow globe, and we're going to poke it from front to back. It's important. Front to back. And we're going to pull through a little loop, and then we're going to take our 2 strands of the silver, that are still sticking out the front if they would just sort of hang together for a minute. And we're going to poke those through the loop from the front to the back. And pull it tight, gently. Sometimes you have to massage it a little because it's stiff ribbon and you're pulling it through paper. You don't want to rip your paper, right? Ripping paper, not good. There we go. And so now we have our nice little ribbons coming out the top and that little loop coming from behind. And I think it just looks nicer that way than the opposite way. So that's just a me thing. And then we're going to open up our card and we're going to take one strand from our snow globe and we're going to poke it through the left side hole here. Let's see, sometimes you got to kind of try and fold it in half a little bit and make it smaller because we have to fight against that little lip of cardstock. And then we're going to take the right hand side and we're going to poke it through the second hole. Are you getting an idea of what's happening here? I'm going to poke that through the second hole and make sure they're coming kind of evenly through. And then what I want to do is I want to kind of close this a bit and then just figure out where I want this to be. And I actually want it to be so that the bottom of the snow globe is a little bit down below there. Yeah, even just a smidgen more, a little bit below the edge of the open front of our frame. And then all I need to do is to tie a bow on this without shifting it around too much. And that can sometimes mean that you need 17 hands. So we're going to tie a little knot. And then we're going to tie a little bow. And you know, you would think for people who have been, tying shoelaces all their life, this would be easy peasy and simple, but it doesn't always work out that way. Be easy peasy and simple. And I've got my bow upside down. Soon as you start pulling it, you'll realize that your bow will be upside down. And then just pull it back out and try again. And sometimes it just takes some fiddling. Is that going to be upside down again too? Let's see if we can't massage it to the direction we want. Sometimes that helps too. Just give it a little loving. Because we don't want our bow to be upside down if we can avoid it. All right, so that's doing okay. You need to come down here. We need to get this tighter. There we go. The problem is we need to get it tighter without lifting up the snow globe. Bows are always a little bit, tedious. And then we want to pull it till our little loops are the size we want. And there are lots of different ways to figure out how to make a bow. I think maybe I'll make my loops just a little bit bigger. There we go. And I'm going to trim off this one a little bit because it's a little bit different size. There we go. A little off center. All right. So now you won't be able to see this because you're looking from above and I'm looking from the side. But now what happens is our little snow globe kind of dangles. I'll use my fingers there to help. In the center of our tent fold. Isn't that cute? If I move it down, you can actually see it. It just kind of dangles and it'll kind of have a little bit of movement in there, which is super cute. And then all we need to do is squish down this accordion-y, foldy thing down here at the bottom. And now we can peel off the backing. You want to make sure you've done everything you're going to do inside. before you do this. And then I'm going to just turn it so I can kind of maneuver everything and squish down our front so that it attaches there. And now when we stand up our tent fold card, it's got this little base that keeps, yes, it's dangling out there, but that's okay. It doesn't normally do that, but I've got it on the side so I can show you the base. Now it will not do the splits because it can't get any wider. You're asking yourself, where are we going to write our message? Now you could, if you wanted, spin this around and write a message on the back of this, but somebody might not figure out that that's where you wrote the message. And then they'll be confused about what you're trying to tell them. So we have this entire back panel, 6x6, that will work perfectly for writing your message. Now, one thing that we could do, if I had gotten it out ahead of time, let me see if I can rummage quick enough, because I moved some things off my desk to make it work a little better for there we go. We could bring in some of these rhinestone basic jewels, and we could add a little blingity bling to our snow globe that's in here, because why would we not want to? We could add just a little bit of pizzazz in there, because everything is a little better with a bit of bling. Now, I don't have any sentiments because, as I said, didn't buy the stamp sets, but they're on their way. So for now, my snow globe will just happily hang out. Let me just hold it there so you can see. Happily hang out inside the lovely exposed brick 3D embossed frame with those lovely snowflakes in behind. And when I get some stamps and I can add a sentiment, I can add a nice little sentiment here to the bottom or off to the side. And then that will be ready to send. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that tent fold snow globe card come together. And I hope you feel inspired to create one of your own with this nice little holder to keep it from doing the splits. And you can create some really fun scenes inside of a frame using this method. So let me see, what time is it? It is 7:30. We will be back on at 8 o'clock for more crafting. So set your timers. You have half an hour. You can go do a few things and come back, and we will see you at 8 o'clock for some more crafting. We're going to do a little scrapbooking at 8 o'clock. We'll see you then. Toodaloo. Bye.